Are you talking to me? Well, I'm talking to you. Hey everyone, this is Phenomenous. Back at you with some more info here. We're just gonna get right into it. So you probably heard by now, coronavirus spreads in deer and other animals. Scientists worry about what that means for people. Oh, I can tell you what it means. This was November 17th on CNN. Scientists have found SARS-CoV-2 spreads like, well, a virus among white-tailed deer and other wild animals in the United States. People are the likely source, but that doesn't mean that the virus can't evolve among these animals and then spill back into the humans. And researchers are worried about what this spreads means for the risk of future pandemics. There's little doubt SARS-CoV-2, the virus that caused the ongoing pandemic, came from an animal. Almost certainly a bat. Really? There's little doubts there? There's not, ongoing debate between lab leak or natural. I believe that is a constant debate since the start of this whole thing, and I can tell you both are just part of the coronavirus novel, greatest fairy tale ever told. But anyways, it's also clear that people can infect animals. Pets such as cats, zoo animals such as gorillas and snow leopards, and farmed mink can all be infected. Multiple cases have been reported, and evidence of changes in the viruses infecting mink have led to mass culls of those animals on fur farms. Snow leopards die of COVID-19 complications. Right. Viral spread among deer. If somebody might bite an apple and throw it, or even if I sneeze in a tissue and drop it, speculated Dr. Suresh Kuchipudi of the Animals Diagnostic Laboratory at Pennsylvania State University, who helped lead one study published earlier this month that found a third of deer they tested across Iowa between September of 2020 and January of 2021 showed evidence of infection. Sewage has been found to carry the virus, so polluted water might be a source, he added, or people spitting or contaminating the environment in other ways. You got some stellar theories here. Nothing based on any facts, just some theories from this quack. Keep in mind, these are highly susceptible animals, and while you do not know how much virus they need to be infected, Kuchipudi told CNN, it raises an urgent question. We know the deer are effectively transmitting virus among themselves, and then who are they giving it to? It's also possible another species could be picking up the virus from people and infecting deer. We don't know what's going on in our very own country, and we need to find out, said Han Ip of the United States Geological Survey in Wisconsin. Viral hotspots among the rodents. Ip and colleagues tested animals they found around a mink farm that was the site of an outbreak in Utah, and found skunks, mice, and other animals were susceptible to a variety of coronaviruses. They were originally worried that mink, which caught the virus that causes COVID-19 from people, might infect the local wildlife. They found no indication of that. It was a very pleasant surprise, Ip told CNN. But mice, raccoons, skunks, and other animals carried a load of other coronaviruses. The numbers of coronaviruses and the diversity was a surprise. But most welcome, because we know diversity is strength. Our findings indicate unexpectedly high prevalence of coronavirus among the domestic and wild animals tested on mink farms, and raised the possibility that these operations could be potential hotspots for future trans-species viral spillover and the emergence of new pandemic coronaviruses, they wrote in a report published in the journal Viruses in October. Researchers like Ip and Kuchipudi say much more study like this is needed. Hello? Okay, Batman heard me recording and would like to contribute to the conversation here. Anyways, there are several reasons scientists do not want to see a virus like the one that causes COVID-19 infecting animals. For one, it creates what's known as a reservoir, so that even in the unlikely case that everyone got vaccinated, the virus stops circulating among people, it still circulates among animals and could reinfect people eventually. More likely, however, is the risk that it could change and evolve. That can happen in two ways. One is steady adaptation, and it infects different species. As it infects different species, the virus will change to better adapt to those species. That could make it either more or less dangerous to humans. Another route to change viruses can take shortcuts by swapping big chunks of genetic material in a process called... Sorry, I got like a hair or something on my nose. It's tickling me. Called recombination. Influenza is especially good at this, but coronaviruses can do it as well. If an animal is infected with more than one coronavirus at a time, the two types can mix and match genes and potentially come up with new variants. Recombination is one of the major mechanisms for coronavirus evolution, Ip said. So if animals are already carrying their own varieties of coronavirus, and people are then infecting them with strands that cause pandemics among humans, the potential exists for these viruses to infect animals at the same time, trade genetic material, and give rise to new pandemic viral species. Pandemic origins. This raises urgent questions about the trajectory of this pandemic, Kuchipudi said. If there are animals out there like white-tailed deer that are so easily infected and that so easily transmit the virus among themselves, that's a red flag. That means much better surveillance is needed to see what other animals might be getting infected by people or by other animals, and what threat they might pose to other animals and people. Right. We need to be prepared for any variants that might emerge, he said. Plus, Ip said, surveillance is needed to know what coronaviruses are living in animals that might be the source of the next pandemic. Not just among bats in remote caves in Southeast Asia, but perhaps among mice or deer or raccoons in the backyards of the U.S. Midwest. And people need to remember that humans are the primary source of the spread of the virus. Even if COVID-19 originally came from animals, humans are the species that have amplified it and spread it. And there's one answer to that spread. Vaccination rates are not uniform across the world, Kuchipudi said. As long as there are susceptible human beings, we give opportunities for the virus to circulate and change. There need to be more concerted efforts to vaccinate as many people as possible so that we can at least minimize transmission among human beings. Yes, that's always the answer in the end. No matter what, get everyone. Get 'em all. Stick 'em all. Oh, gotta wait for it to load. Thanks, Internet. Global news. COVID-19 virus found in 3 Quebec deer, Canadian officials say. There's not a whole lot to this one. So 3 tested positive by the Environment and Climate Change Canada, is your CCC, or 333. These just infecting human beings, also Canadian wildlife. And we'll scroll down to this part. In previous interviews with Global News about their American research, Canadian scientists expressed concern about the possibility that deer were becoming infected with the virus that causes COVID-19. Any disease that gets into multiple species, we can't eradicate, said Scott Wees, veterinary infectious disease specialist with the Ontario Veterinary College and director of the Center for Public Health and Zoonosis. So that's their words. You can never eradicate it, but they keep on trying. And I love how they'll never, put the recovery rate because that's just a statistic that's irrelevant, apparently. Anyways, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. White-tailed deer found to be a huge reservoir of coronavirus infection. November 8th. The conversation. New research from the U.S. has shown that white-tailed deer are being infected with SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19 in humans. Antibodies were found in 40% of deer that were tested from January to March 2021 across Michigan, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and New York State. A second unpublished study has detected the virus in 80% of deer sampled in Iowa between November 2020 and January 2021. Such high levels of infection led to researchers to conclude that deer are actively transmitting the virus to one another. The scientists also identified different SARS-CoV-2 variants, suggesting there have been many human-to-deer infections. Oh, she's infecting the deer. She's doing it. Lock her up. Anyways, nonsense. Human to deer and deer to deer transmission are believed to be driving the rapid spread of the disease within white-tailed deer populations across the U.S. This is particularly apparent during the early months of 2021 when COVID infections were spiking the human population. Previous studies have shown that SARS-CoV-2 can be passed from human to domestic and captive animals, including cats, dogs, zoo animals, and most notably farmed mink. But until now, the disease has not been shown to spread wildlife species. White-tailed deer are the most abundant large mammal in North America, with a range extending from Canada to South America. The U.S. population alone is estimated to number 30 million animals. There are social species that live in family groups of 2 to 12 individuals that can thrive in a range of habitats, including urban parks and woodland. These aspects of their ecology and behavior have made them a species of particular concern when it comes to the spread of diseases, including bovine tuberculosis and chronic wasting disease. That's the zombie deer, and that's what drove me to do this report, because that was something that popped in my head as soon as I heard about the coronavirus in deer, was the zombie deer. Anyways, these pathogens have already led to considerable effects on the health of wild and domestic animal populations around the globe. The findings from the latest studies have raised concerns that white-tailed deer could be a reservoir of SARS-CoV-2. Not only could this readily infect large number of animals, but also more worryingly, it could spill back to humans. This type of infection cycle was documented in workers on an infected mink farm, which ultimately led to Danish government's euthanizing their entire captive populations of 17 million animals. There's that 17. Potential source of new variants. There is the possibility that viral mutations in the viral hosts, such as white-tailed deer, could lead to new variants of the disease. These variants may lead to greater infection rates, increased virulence. You can't have both. It's either one or the other. That's science, baby, but they like to ignore that fact. And they always talk about, it's more, the Delta is more infectious. Well, then it can't be more severe, so what's our worry here? Anyways, severity of symptoms to prove more effective at evading the human immune system. Likewise, any reinfection from wildlife reservoirs could also complicate our long-term efforts to fight and suppress the disease. Influenza, which jumps rapidly between birds, humans, and other mammals, particularly pigs, presented similar problems. These multiple reservoirs of disease can lead to new strains emerging that humans have lower immunity against, as was the case with the swine flu of 2009. Yes, that was the test one, the test run of 2009, a decade before the real deal. And I don't mean real in the way that they mean it real. And I can't say it because YouTube will probably censor me if I do. But that was the test run. All right. Supposedly, let's just talk about the swine flu for a minute. In the scenario that created the swine flu was a man with a flu, a pig, and a bird with a flu. Both infected said pig, and those flus mixed together, making swine flu. And voila, you have your swine flu, which also had the Spanish flu was part of it. It was like the lineage of the Spanish flu or whatever, linked to it or something. I used to know it very well, but it doesn't matter because it was part of the swine flu novel. Second greatest fairy tale ever told. Or I don't know if it was the second. There's probably the Spanish flu could be the biggest one, second biggest one for all I know. Doesn't matter. It's all fairy tales now. Widespread coronavirus infection found in Iowa deer, new study says. An analysis by Penn State and Iowa researchers strongly indicate that deer are getting the virus from humans, blah, blah, blah. You know the story by now. We can just scroll down. Scientists affiliated with the study who reviewed the findings said they were stunned, but not entirely surprised. If deer can transmit the virus to humans, it's a game changer, said Tony Goldberg, a veterinarian at the University of Wisconsin-Madison who studies the evolution of infectious diseases as they jump between animals and people. To have wildlife species become a reservoir after transmission from humans is very rare and unlucky. As if we needed more bad luck. There you go. The game changer. We're getting set up for something, people. Potential narrative builder here. Anyways, did I have any more highlights? Yes, I did. What they found as they probed deeper was even more astounding. Using tests to decode the genomic makeup of each viral sample, they found similar patterns between the emergence of mutations and variants in the state's deer population and those infecting people. Researchers said that offered stronger proof of human-to-deer transmission, as well as evidence that deer were then spreading the virus to one another at a rapid clip. Mapping the location of each sample also suggested that the infections were occurring simultaneously across the state as hunting season ramped up. The study's authors say it was unclear whether the deer were sickened by the infection. How the virus passes from human to deer, however, is not entirely clear. Rachel Rudin, Iowa's state wildlife veterinarian and an author of the study, said there were plenty of opportunities for transmission given that 445,000 deer roam the state. Wait, I want to make sure I can see them recording. Okay. While I read. The virus can spread when people feed deer in their backyard through sewage discharges, or maybe when an animal licks a splotch of chewing tobacco left behind by an infected hunter. Man, they love these hilarious little scenarios of how it started. Yes, the deer's gonna lick a tobacco splotch. Perhaps it doesn't take much of a loading dose to get deer infected, she said. But either way, all of this is a striking example that we're all in this pandemic together. Aww. I feel special now. Despite the concerns that the country's 38 million white-tailed deer could become a lasting reservoir for the coronavirus, experts say such a scenario does not mean all hope is lost in the battle to conquer the pandemic. Well, just the other guy said it was impossible to eradicate it. Dangerous mutation that one day finds its way from the deer to the people could be tackled with a booster shot. Aw, that's awesome. Guys, there's a booster shot that could solve the problems. Not like how vaccines for the seasonal flu are developed each year, a coronavirus vaccine for deer is also a possibility. Scientists have already created them for zoo animals, but the practicality. I couldn't read the word. I can't. Practicality there of inoculating millions of free roaming ungulates would be daunting to say the least. All right, let's move on. Chronic wasting disease ravaging deer population near South Saskatchewan River. So now I'm moving on to the next one. The one that they've been scaring us routinely. Almost like clockwork. I guess it's around every hunting season. Up to 70% of male deer infected with the fatal disease. Wildlife health specialist. Chronic wasting disease is devastating deer populations near the South Saskatchewan River Valley, with as many as 70% of male deer testing positive for the fatal nervous system disease. It's unfortunately gotten to a point where we're seeing such high infection rates where we do expect some impacts on the population, said Iga Stasiak, a wildlife health specialist with the Ministry of Environment. CWD was first recorded in Saskatchewan in 1996 on a game farm, but has since moved into the wild deer, elk, and moose populations, with wildfire-like infection rates in some areas. The land near the South Saskatchewan River Valley and the town of Outlook, 93 kilometers southwest of Saskatoon, provides a prime habitat for deer and has become a breeding ground for CWD. There's all your supposed infections. This is a fatal disease in animals that succumb to the infection within typically 2 years, so that is particularly concerning. CWD is spread through urine, feces, and saliva, with disease proteins remaining infectious on the land for years and possibly decades after they are deposited. The environment has unfortunately gotten contaminated, Stasiak said. CWD is a prion disease and in the same family as bovine spongiform encephalopathy, or whatever, more commonly known as mad cow disease. BSE devastated the British cattle industry in the 1980s and 1990s and is linked to variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease in humans, a fatal prion disease that creates holes in infected brains, giving them a sponge-like appearance. Stasiak said that unlike BSE, there is no evidence to show CWD is transmitted to people through eating infected animals. However, it is fatal in deer, elk, and moose, and there is a theoretical risk to humans. Can't be 100% certain. That's why the recommendations are to avoid eating animals that are known to be infected. And it goes on. The thing about chronic wasting disease, or zombie deer, is it's been around since the 60s. It's over 50 years old, right? So when's it going to destroy the deer? Apparently it's not that big of a deal, because I'll show later how they're taking efforts to reduce populations of deer because there's so many. Now, this one sounds familiar. I want to look this up just real quick here. Is this what I'm thinking it is? Come on. Give me more. More. I don't get any more. There we go. Is there another name for this? Creutzfeldt-Jakob. Creutzfeldt-Jakob. Are you kidding me? It's got Kobe in it. The original Kobe virus. Kobe disease. Emu disease, cattle. No, this is a different one. Anyways. Let's get out of this. And that was That's it for that one. Coronavirus, chronic waste, and disease remain factors this firearms deer hunting season. What a weird sentence. This firearms deer hunting season. Yes, generally they use firearms. Local hunters should remain vigilant against chronic waste and disease, as always always fatal illness that has been sickening deer in Pennsylvania for nearly a decade. That's according to Pennsylvania Game Commission officials who published information about the disease ahead of the state's popular firearm deer season, which begins Saturday. The illness, which is similar to mad cow disease, is spread by deer-to-deer contact, as well as through contact with contaminated surfaces and environments, officials said. To curb the spread, officials have established quarantine zones called disease management areas, in which hunters are required to follow special regulations, including restrictions on transporting certain deer parts. Most of Lancaster County is in a quarantine zone after a deer raised in captivity north of Lancaster City tested positive for disease in 2019. Hunters who take deer in disease management areas can have them tested for free by depositing the animal's head in designated collection containers, 6 of which are located within Lancaster County. This summer, officials in the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced that analysis of sampled deer have turned up results for SARS-CoV-2 antibodies in multiple states. So there's kind of your reason why they are testing the deer for coronavirus. It's kind of had to do with testing for the CWD. But anyways, let's get where am I going now? Here. Between chronic waste and disease and COVID in deer, how safe are they to eat? 9-day gun deer hunt is over, and many hunters are looking forward to stocking the freezers. But between chronic waste and disease and now the possibility of COVID-infected deer, how safe is that meat to eat? The Wisconsin Department of Health Services urges hunters to follow good health practices. Yada, yada, yada. Crap. Department of Health Services urges hunters to take proper precaution when handling the carcasses, like wearing rubbers or disposable gloves and wear a mask. Ultimately, Klaus says the risk of getting COVID from an infected deer is low. We don't have a lot of information about white-tailed deer and SARS-CoV-2, the virus that... Okay, they always say that, the virus that causes COVID. If people don't know that by now, then what the hell have they been doing? What we can say right now is that we have no evidence that people can get COVID-19 from eating food or consuming meat, including wild game meat. They were worried about those chicken wings, those frozen chicken wings, having the coronavirus. Animal kingdom is full of coronaviruses. What's that mean for the COVID's future? Oh, that deer. I don't like the look on that deer's face. He's up to something. He's going to take those 2 ladies out. Every year, the United States Department of Agriculture drops more than 6 million packets from airplanes across the East Coast. The packets are covered in fish oil, and coyotes and raccoons find them irresistible. Inside past the tasty coating is our oral rabies vaccine. The goal is to build up herd immunity in wild populations themselves, reported Veterinary Practice News. In 2020, when about half of potential rabies carriers are inoculated, transmission falls dramatically. That in turn means that wild animals won't infect pets or even humans. Many public health experts credit the program with containing the spread of rabies in the United States. Why does this matter? Soon after COVID-19 exploded into a pandemic, the virus was detected in dogs in Hong Kong. Later that year, it was spread in minks and Danish fur farms. In some cases, back from minks into humans. It appeared in lions, which also happened before Le Jab, so the theory is crap again. As I said in my previous video, the whole theory of the, jabberoni being connected with the variants of the novel coronavirus. It appeared in lions and tigers in the Bronx Zoo during the height of New York's first surge, like likely passed along by zookeepers, and this year, multiple studies have detected the virus in wild deer population in the United States. A recent survey in Iowa found signs that deer were even spreading it to one another. I think we always assumed that with coronaviruses, this was a concern, says Jason Kinderchuk, who studied emerging viruses at the University of Manitoba. I think the breadth of the animals have become shocking. That has real ramifications for the long-term trajectory of SARS-CoV-2. When vaccines first became available, public health officials expressed hope that we might be able to eradicate the virus entirely. But Angela Rasmussen, who studies immune responses to viruses at the University of Saskatchewan's Vaccine and Infectious Diseases Organization, says we've only done that ever for 2 viruses, smallpox in humans and rinderpest, which is a cattle virus, and that really only worked because those viruses didn't infect any other species. Eradication hasn't seemed likely for months, but with the virus appearing in other species, it's virtually impossible. So they're telling us it's with us forever. Which leaves the world with the task of controlling an endemic virus. As more people get vaccinated, says Rasmussen, outbreaks will become less common, and I wouldn't be surprised if it starts spreading in other animals. It's basically a computer program. There you go, relating it to the digital world. Computer program that's going to run if it finds an operating system it's compatible with, and just looks like there's a lot of compatible systems out there. Like the flu, SARS-CoV-2 may circulate between humans and animals, mutating slightly, and depending on how it mutates, we may need to monitor it in animals to control it in people. Extend that biosurveillance to the wildlife, of course. I don't. What else do we want to report on? Okay. You, Rasmussen? Sorry. Let's see. Where should I start? The situation really isn't that different than we see in influenza. He says, we have influenza viruses maintained and all sorts of species, birds, pigs, and occasionally we see them spill over into humans, and that's the next pandemic, or it then becomes the basis of our seasonal flu strains. We know this has happened before because most human coronaviruses that have arisen in the past have come from animals, says Linda Safe, a longtime veterinary coronavirus researcher at the Iowa State University. But could we head off that future by vaccinating wild animals? As with rabies, there is a vaccine in development for mink, and early data released by this developer suggests that it's effective in cats and dogs as well. Oh, goody. It's been distributed to zoos across the country for experimental use in everything from lions to gorillas. And coincidentally, we've been seeing a lot of zoo animal deaths, but I mean that must be the COVID. That must be the Kobe virus taking them out, right? Rasmussen thinks that's unlikely. It's a very different virus from rabies, which is spread, through the skin, puncture. You can hit an animal with a blow dart, and it's vaccinated against rabies. Something she's seen on the ground in Malaysia, and because SARS-CoV-2 spreads so much faster than rabies, far more animals would have to be vaccinated. And as things stand, Safe of Ohio State isn't sure that the animal's vaccine in development would halt transmission. In her experience, vaccines based on a similar technology have curbed the worst symptoms, but left animals infectious. It might protect populations that are dying from the virus, but wouldn't necessarily prevent outbreaks. But she doesn't rule it out in the future as other vaccines are developed. Certainly, it's possible that an oral vaccine can be also quite effective for SARS-CoV-2. Until then, Tracking wild outbreaks will likely involve a combination of high-tech genetic work and old-fashioned public health processes, if governments are willing to invest in it. Rasmussen and Kindrachuk are working on a project through the Canadian Research Program Coronavirus Variants Rapid Response Network to detect and monitor COVID variants in other species. They're starting with a list of animals that could harbor the virus, from moose to seals and other marine mammals. Rasmussen says she's worried about indoor-outdoor cats, which could end up shuttling the virus into homes. Better get rid of those animals, those pets, replace them with some robotic companions. From there, they'll likely start monitoring populations to see how sick animals can get and how the virus mutates in their bodies, in hopes of predicting which animals are likely to generate worrisome variants. If there is sustained circulation in animals, we'll probably have to change some of our interactions, says Kindrachuk. That's the key. Gotta take your animals away, like I'm saying. They want to do it. They want to take your pets away. You won't be able to have a dog or cat. And probably nothing else, and you'll have to have a mechanical version of it. Just like, do androids dream of electric sheep? Just like that. There isn't any real pets. It's very rare. That's what they want for us. Now, I've reported on the zombie deer in the past a couple times. This was one of the second ones, mass media preconditioning humans to fear nature, where I talked about how they use, much like in the book Brave New World, though in Brave New World they did it to babies early on. They're doing that to us through media. Reports find zombie deer disease may infect humans, but it doesn't. This is from October of 2019. This is as I said, it was a recycling of the deer reports, and they do it like every year, right? Around hunting season, of course, because they don't want you hunting or eating deer meat. Because they don't want you to live off the land. They want you to live off them. Edmonton Sun. And then you got your zombie programming. Human bodies keep moving for more than a year after death, researchers finds. This was 2019 as well. September 16th. Zombies from Walking Dead may be frighteningly closer to reality than you might like to imagine. So one aspect that I find with the zombie deer was the zombie programming, right? And then my second point was that it was to fear nature, fear going out, and to promote land conservation. Because they don't want you out in those woods. They want you in the cities. They're smart grid cities, safe and sound from those diseases. And this is just an excerpt from the Brave New World, and so on and so forth. I wrote many a blog in my day, and a lot of them have some very excellent information. But anyways, those are the 2 points I expressed back then. Now there's a third thing based on newer knowledge, and that would be, what is this? No, I don't need that. We're going to talk about what their solution will be. Wildlife vaccination, growing in feasibility. Each fall, we see announcements reminding us to get a flu shot, and those of us with pets get reminders from our vets. Hold on a minute. All right, sorry about that. Where was I? Each fall, we see announcements reminding us to get a flu shot, and those of us with pets get reminders from vets to bring Fluffy in for her annual shots. These shots are vaccinations intended to help our immune systems protect us from a disease. They prevent outbreaks of disease in humans and domestic animals. But what about wild animals? Do they get vaccinated too? Oh, they do. Just as for people and pets, vaccines can be used in wildlife to prevent disease. Vaccines have been developed to prevent wildlife diseases that threaten public health, livestock production, and species of conservation concern. Oral vaccination is the most common method because wild animals do not need to be captured to be given a shot. They can eat a tasty bait containing the vaccine to become immunized, and there's a chart of just some of the diseases. Not the ones that we're looking for here. But anyways, low-cost remote drug delivery blow dart for veterinary use. Boreal Rhino Alliance, CO, whatever. Abstract. Remote Delivery Drug Systems, RDDS, is commonly used by veterinarians to administer drugs to an unapproachable captive zoo and free-ranging animals. Although several commercial systems are available, they are expensive to purchase. The construction of a low-cost, homemade, two-chambered compressed air blow dart is described in this paper for the use of veterinarian in developing countries. The design of the dart is based on the design of a commercial blow dart system. An advantage in terms of cost effectiveness and is expected when the darts are applied in mass. For example, rabies vaccination program on free-ranging stray dogs, where a large number of darts are required, or immobilization in macaques for biological sampling, where darts are usually damaged. Keyword. Okay, so ability to inject a drug into a free-ranging animal using a remote injection system is a mainstay of the practice of zoological medicine. Bush, 1992. There is a various range of remote drug delivery system in the market, but the most basic system is a lung-powered propelled blowpipe system. The major advantage of blowpipe system is a silent projection with minimal trauma upon impact. It is adaptable for use on small animals, easily sighted, and has no mechanical parts to malfunction or that require maintenance. These blowpipe systems are produced commercially by various manufacturers, including Telenjek, Daninjek, MaxiJek, and Teledart, which consist of a 1 millimeter or 11 millimeter or 13 millimeter internal diameter ID blowpipe barrel, a mouthpiece, and a blow dart. All blow darts have 4 basic components: a drug storage compartment, a mechanism for injecting the drug, a needle to penetrate the skin, and a stabilizer for accurate flight. Blow darts are difficult to clean and sterilize after each use because they are self-contained unit. They are also frequently destroyed when an animal bites into them. Following darting and having limited range and drug volume, commercially produced darts are made with precision, and manufacturing are done outside. Okay, yada yada yada. So you can see that blow darts is a method, right? EPA gives thumbs up on a vaccine to manage deer populations. This is what I was talking about earlier. For years, when community residents became agitated about the presence of deer in the neighborhoods, governments, leaders, and residents often defaulted to shooting or even killing the animals with arrows as a way to reduce their densities. Now, it's a move that will help communities interested in considering a different and humane response to conflicts with wildlife. The Environmental Protection Agency has approved the registration of the immunocontraceptive vaccine Zanostate D, or Zonostat D, I don't know. for management of deer populations, similar to the Zonistat H vaccine, whose use in the humane control of wild horse populations is well established and effective. Zonistat D is a trade name for the porcine zona pellucida PZP vaccine adapted for deer. PCB blocks fertilization by triggering the production of antibodies that bind to the protein envelope surrounding the egg. And it goes on. Having treated many hundreds of deer with PZP, HSUS scientists and other researchers who have experience with the vaccine have abundant evidence to demonstrate that it's safe for the animals, doesn't pass through the food chain, and is effective in reducing reproductive success. When used properly, PZP reduces fawning rates by 85 to 90%. That's crazy. There's your birth control vaccine. And here we have the PCB new contraceptive for deer. I couldn't highlight any sections, but there's some interesting stuff. So I already read how it works. PCP was first recognized as an effective contraceptive in 1970. Since we first began treating deer on Fire Island, New York in 1993, nearly 2,000 deer have been treated at field sites in seven states. Effective PZP on deer and other animals are very well known. Effectiveness treatment of the white-tailed deer with PZP typically reduces pregnancy rates by 80 to 90%. PZP can be delivered by hand or remotely by DART. DART vaccination. Using current technology, a single hand injected of PCP prevents pregnancy for about 2 years. Subsequent boosters may last longer. PCP is a naturally occurring protein that must be injected to be effective. If eaten, PCP is broken down like any other proteins, so that's no good. There you go. DART method vaccination. Government drones spray prairie dogs with peanut butter to help ferrets. Drones aren't just for recreating action scenes from Star Wars and scooping kitty litter. They could also give the endangered black-footed ferret a better chance of survival. In an effort to prevent the black-footed ferret population from decreasing in the United States, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service of USFWS has devised a sweet plan to get vaccines into a Montana ferret colony using an unusual delivery method, drones and peanut butter. And it goes on, doesn't matter. The use of drones is important. That's why I'm pointing this out. Dart shooting drone attacks trees for science. Sensor-laden darts can collect data in hazardous or inaccessible environments. This is from October 2020. Oh, I should have mentioned the dates of some of these other ones. They're older. That was 2016. You can look back at the dates, I'm sure. We all know how robots are great at going to places where you can't or shouldn't send a human. We also know how robots are great at doing repetitive tasks. These characteristics have the potential to make robots ideal for setting up wireless sensor networks in hazardous environments. That is, they could deploy a whole bunch of self-contained sensor nodes that create a network that can monitor a very large area for a very long time. Yada, yada, yada. Check out this little sucker in action here. I don't need any sound. I think it deserves any sound anyways, but I gotta improve that quality. It's really bad. Oops. Alright, hold on. Come on. Let's go. Take her back. it fires pretty good. Now this is just for sensors, right? Doesn't matter though. I think it has some better footage down the line. I'm going to pause and let it load for a bit. These darts, which the researchers refer to as aerodynamically stable spine-equipped sensor pods, can embed themselves in relatively soft targets from up to 4 meters away with an accuracy of about 10 centimeters. After being fired from a spring-loaded launcher, they're not quite as accurate as a drone with a manipulator, but it's pretty good, and the drone can maintain a safe distance from the surface that is trying to add a sensor to. Obviously, this spine is only going to work on things like wood, but the researchers can point out there are plenty of attachment mechanisms that could be used, including magnets, adhesives, chemical bonding, or microspines. Indoor tests using magnets show the system to be quite reliable, but at close range, within a meter of the target, darts sometimes bounce off rather than sticking from between 1 and 4 meters away. The dart stuck between 90 and 100% of the time. Initial outdoor tests were also successful, although the system was under manual control. The researchers say that regular and safe operations should be carried out autonomously, which, yeah, you'd just have to deal with all the extra sensing and hardware required to autonomously fly beneath the canopy of a forest. That's happening next as researchers plan to add vision, sight estimation and positioning, as well as a depth sensor to avoid some trees and fire sensors into others. And if all of that goes well, they consider trying to get each drone to carry multiple darts. Look out, trees. Look out, humans. You're about to be pierced for science. It's all for science, baby. Let's watch the rest of that video here. There's your trigger. Estimated articulation. Bam. Here it fires the dart. This is pretty crude looking. It's just a demonstration for all intents and purposes. There you go. I saw this as well. Havoc dart gun drone. Could this be coming to the US? The aptly named dart gun is the latest product developed by Havoc, the leading company in South Africa. This robust platform has already proved its resilience in daunting working conditions, flying for the past 2 years in DRC agricultural operations. Havoc crossed the boundary, combining super drone with a unique pneumatic all-aluminum lightweight gun attached to the potent airframe. Developed by professionals. According to their website, this drone was developed in tandem with one of the leading gun manufacturers in South Africa. The dart gun, designed by a team of professionals to meet the requirements of the game industry and veterinarians. With its heavy lift 960mm diameter carbon fiber frame and 17-inch propeller, the dart gun is able to lift a payload of up to 22 pounds by attaching a lightweight air gun to the super drone. This machine now becomes a remarkable, nimble, but fast-flying performer, able to reach at top speed of 41 miles per hour. It's pretty damn fast. The pilot can follow the target during flight by means of live view goggles, first-person view, using clean lipo battery-driven motors. The dart gun provides silent yet long endurance flying times of up to 40 minutes per operation. Unique laser-guided vision aligned with the built-in laser beam. The pilot can view the target through the onboard HD camera during flight, pointing the laser beam at the target. The dart will find the exact spot indicated by the laser beam. Groundbreaking in the drone industry, the pilot's goggles are linked to the movement of the dart gun. When the pilot moves his head up and down, the gimbal-mounted dart gun will follow suit and aim the gun accordingly. Safe operation. As the dart gun is loaded by pressurized air prior to the operation, the dart gun can be safely initialized even by a novice. By increasing the pressure of air in the gun, the velocity and reach the dart impact can be altered. Reach of the dart's impact can be altered. Using the recommended air pressure, the dart gun will be accurate to 30 meters or 98.5 feet. Affordable and accessible. For the first time, the dart gun provides an affordable platform for the game farmer, game capture industry, and veterinarians alike. At a fraction of the cost compared to the traditional helicopter platform, the dart gun now opens up brand new possibilities for both the farming and veterinary communities. And look at this thing. So what is Venomous talking about here? Well, let's give you a little reminder of what happened not that long ago. This little video here.
Get blow darts put into him, blow darted into him, like blow dart.
So again, so unorganized. Blow dart. So again, you just shoot everyone. So drones, drone darts.
Blow darts is always the answer.
Yeah.
Like blow dart. You get blow darted into him. Other than blow darts.
The obvious answer is blow darts. Blow darts. Drones, drone darts.
Blow darts. Blow darts.
Blow darts.
Blow dart.
It is the perfect answer.
I will cheers to that.
Yes, cheers.
Blow darts. And at one point he says drone darts. Now, there's also this little thing that I've talked about before. The CIA's poison dart gun nearly brought down the whole agency. Hollywood spies often have a myriad of amazing devices at their disposal for getting rid of bad guys in a clandestine way. And turns out occasionally so do real spies. Exhibit A, the CIA's undetectable poison dart gun that nearly silently shots frozen darts comprised of an unspecified undetectable poison. The individual hit remotely would at most just feel something like a mosquito bite as the dart penetrated their skin. It would then quickly melt and the poison would do its work, leaving the victim dead for an apparent heart attack, with no detectable evidence of the poison remaining. The weapon was revealed as part of a broader Senate investigation into intelligence and covert action abuses by the agency. The disclosure of the full gamut of activities and devices caused Senator Frank Church, DID, to conclude that the CIA had become a rogue elephant rampaging out of control. There's a dart gun there in the picture. Air rifle with tranquilizer dart, not CIA issue that we know of. Image via the website of the President of the Russian Federation. Spread by the publication of Seymour Hersh's game-changing article in the New York Times on December 22 of 1974, which related assassination attempts and covert activities to subvert both foreign governments as well as American anti-war and other dissidents. The Senate formed the Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities in 1975. Blah, blah, blah. These included routinely opening and resealing U.S. citizen mail since 1952, misusing tax information to target domestic dissidents, and conducting domestic electronic surveillance of peace and black power activists. In addition, for the CIA, this also included developing weapons such as a pistol that can fire a poison dart 325 feet, kill a man before he knows he has been hit, and leave no clue as to what killed him. Part of the program named MK Naomi, established for conducting and managing bacteriological warfare, the poison dart gun was just one of many experiments by the agency, which also included pesticides to ravage crops, and on occasion using the New York City subway to test out a trial model of a biological warfare attack. Scroll down. A memo for 1967 identified the range of project activity: maintenance of stockpile of temporary incapacitating and lethal agents, assessment and maintenance of biological and chemical dissemination systems, and adaptation and testing of DART device for clandestine and imperceptible inoculation with biological warfare or chemical warfare agents. Though specified accounting for each agent, it is not on hand. DoD records indicate that the materials were in fact destroyed in 1970 by SOD personnel, except for the 11 grams of shellfish toxin, plus the 8 milligrams of cobra venom, both found in a vault. A complete inventory was taken, consisted of materials and delivery systems, lethal materials, incapacitants, narcotics, hallucinogenic drugs, irritants and riot control agents, herbicides, animal control materials, and many common chemicals. So there you go with that. Just to get a little idea of what the gun looked like. The handgun, that is.
Also, I had to find, one time they wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack, that would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing.
Does this pistol fire the dart?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and a special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
The poison was frozen into some sort of dart, and then it was shot at very high speed into the person. So when it reached the person, it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red.
It's okay that it stopped there, because that's basically what you needed to hear. And just a quick brush over of Project Naomi, here in Wikipedia. Code name of the Joint Department of Defense CIA research program lasting from 1950s through the 1970s, and classified information about the MK Naomi project and the related Special Operations Division is scarce. It is generally reported to be successor of the MK Ultra project, focusing on biological projects, including biological warfare agents, specifically to store materials that could either incapacitate or kill a test subject, and to develop devices for the diffusion of such materials. During its first 20 years, the CIA engaged in projects designed to increase U.S. biological and chemical warfare capabilities. Project Naomi was initiated to provide the CIA with a covert support base to meet its top-secret operational requirements. The goal was to have a robust arsenal of lethal incapacitating materials within the CIA's Technical Services Division. Surveillance, testing, upgrading, and the evaluation of special materials and items were provided by MK Naomi to ensure that no defects or unwanted contingencies emerged during operational conditions. The U.S. Army's Special Operations Command, SOC, was assigned to assist the CIA with development, testing, and maintenance procedures for the biological agents and delivery systems. 1952. Both the CIA and SOC modified guns to fire special darts coated with biological agents and poisonous pills. Darts could incapacitate guard dogs, allowing agents to infiltrate the area that the dogs were guarding, and would then be used to awaken the dogs upon exiting the facility. In addition, SOC was designated to research the potential to use biological agents against other animals and crops. A 1967 CIA memo, which was uncovered by the Church Committee, contained evidence at least 3 covert techniques for attacking and poisoning crops. Yeah, so there you go. There you go. There's a history of the blow dart gun. There's also them putting, the you know what in plants now. The V into plants for edible vaccines. But not everyone's gonna eat those foods. So how else are they gonna get them? I don't know. Drone darts, I guess. And I think that was everything I had. I swear there was something else and I totally forgot to look it up. Let me just give me a minute here. Alright, that's going to be it for the show. I've showed everything I need to show anyways. But yeah, consider that. There's also predictive programming that I've mentioned before, like in the, what's it called? Maze Runner, the prequel book, The Kill Order, wherein I've already explained it before, but yeah, they use blow darts to infect people with a virus and therefore depopulating them. Well, I'm pretty tired, so I'm gonna wrap this up now and say goodnight to everyone here, although you'll be hearing this when it's daytime, so kind of irrelevant to say goodnight. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and if you'd like to support my work, you may do so by signing up for my Patreon for as low as like $2 or something. Or you can support me in other ways, all provided in the links below. Thank you so much, and have a great day and weekend and all that stuff. Reporting from the brave new world, I am Vanonymous. Catch you next time.
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? No way!